talk a little bit of TV. Now, we have been teasing this TV review for about a month now, more than a month, and we're finally going to give it to you. Yeah.
What?
And that is Marco Polo. I have finished watching all 10
Marco.
episodes. Polo.
Marco.
Polo. But yeah, so I have finished watching all 10 episodes, and I actually finished it a couple weeks ago. Brennan's watched about halfway through. Understandable. He's got some more obligations than I do. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and give you a review. I'm going to start it off with talking about the setting. It's set in the late 1200s. I want to say like really late 1200s, like 1297, somewhere in there. And the basic setting of it takes place mostly... almost 90% of it takes place in Kublai Khan's palace in northern China. Because
at least under his domain, like his kingdoms. So, but mostly in his castle.
Yeah, and this is when the Mongols were pretty much the big dogs. They had the biggest empire in the world. They controlled almost all of Asia, except for some parts of China. And that's really what this is going about. It's him trying to finish taking over China. So that, it's really cool. The sets all seem very elaborate, and they're very well done. Now, I'm no historian. I've never been to 13th century China, but... I think it looks authentic to me. I felt like it was really engrossing.
It looks good, one way or the other. It looks good. It looks like a nice set.
Yeah, now there's not too many sets. There's not too many locations. I want to say there's probably 12 different locations that they use during the 10 episodes, so it's not like it's reaching.
There's a few like one-off areas that they go to, but I was actually impressed by the elaborateness of the sets and the different places that they do go to, considering... I don't think Netflix has done too many shows. They've done a few, right? But this is they put a lot of money into this.
They sunk $90 million.
I was kind of surprised that they put that much into this, and it shows. It was very good. So.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I mean the sets are beautifully designed, even though it only takes place in a couple places. You don't get tired of these places because it feels so. There's so much character to the settings as well as the people. So it's pretty good. Speaking of which, the characters, some of the actors I think did an amazing job. Benedict Wong especially, he plays Kublai Khan. That guy is awesome throughout the entire show. I just I couldn't get enough of him. It was just really 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 cool to see him play that part.
There was a lot of really good ones in there. The blind master, he does that very well.
I like that too. I like him having a blind sensei. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And
every show that has martial arts in it needs one blind master.
Okay, that's another thing too. They clearly put a lot of time into choreography because they don't have a lot of fight scenes, and that makes sense. This is a story about Marco Polo. Yes, they're at war, but you wouldn't expect a huge martial arts focus. But they have enough, and they put time and energy into making those nice and showing like some different styles and things like that.
But then, I mean, the characters, staying with them, you have Chin Han plays Jia Sadao, I believe his name is the Chancellor of the last remaining faction of the Song Dynasty. He kind of rules them before they're taken over by the Mongols. And he plays an amazing villain. If you ever watch the show, I need that great counterpart to make the hero that much better. And it's really, it's called Marco Polo, yes, but you can kind of take Marco out of the mix. It's really Kublai Khan versus Jia Sadao. I'm never going to pronounce it again. The Chancellor of the Song Dynasty. And those two, it's just, it's just awesome. He's like the Darth Vader of 13th century China.
Yeah, it is also great because Kublai Khan, like, they kind of show he's a good leader. He tries to do things according to his code, but it's not always a pretty code. Yeah. Like the way that he goes about ruling is not always a pretty thing that we necessarily like, but he seems like a solid guy for what he's doing. And on the opposite side, Sadao, he doesn't seem that bad. He seems like he's a little bit of a slimy politician at first, but then he just kind of creeps in there and you're like, what is up with this guy?
Well, he's all means by all means, it doesn't matter what he needs to do to get his power and keep his power. He's willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, there's one scene where he binds his little niece's feet, and if you don't know what that is, you can look that up yourself. But apparently she's like 5 years too old to do this, but he does it anyway. So it's
in such a slimy way too. Just man.
The way he treats his family, he doesn't care. He uses them all as stepping stones to his own power. So it's very, he's a great villain. You root against him. You want him to go down. So that's pretty good. Now Marco,
he actually makes it so you don't even necessarily want China to fall. You kind of do because he's involved. You don't necessarily want him. You just want this guy to just
yeah. And he's a beast fighter too. So when you talk about fight choreography, he's got some of the better fight scenes in the show. So it's actually pretty interesting to see. Now my one complaint, and it's not really a complaint, the guy who plays Marco, they kind of try to give him a love story in there. The actor just never really draws me in like the other two. So
it's a little scattered. Like I know the story you're talking about. It's a little scattered and confusing at times. Like what's really going on or how much it matters.
And the actor himself doesn't really give as much emotion as I feel should be given with some of these, whereas Benedict Wong and Chin Han both play their parts just perfectly. It feels like he just kind of misses the mark a little. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying it ruins the show for me at all. I just say he kind of misses the mark from time to time.
I think the writing for him was a little bit off because one of the big things that they talk, like the reason he's kept around, the big thing in the first scene is he's very like flowery with his descriptions. He's very impressive with the way he describes things. Mm-hmm. But so often, even when he gets to the point that he's apparently giving these great explanations that impress the Khan, it's not that great. Like the first time, it didn't really impress me. The first time you see it when he's talking about the desert and things, but after that, it's like, okay, that was slightly better than just directly saying something. Whatever.
And so but the last thing about the characters is that I like how they're developed through actions, not through just telling. Like, okay, this guy did this. That's why he's like this. They show you what's going on. They show you the development of all these characters. They establish them, and then they show them grow. So that's one thing. I love it when shows do that. I don't like it when they just tell you, okay, this guy's like this, and then they tell you how he became that way. I want you to show me how he got that way. It just makes you feel more attached to each one of these characters. So
yeah, and there's several characters that really they don't even bother that much with the back. Like they tell you some backstory after you find out what their personality is, like what they're doing, by some major action.
But again, all the characters kind of grow. So, well, I mean, you haven't quite finished the show, the season. So, trust me, once you get towards the end of it, you see some characters like, oh, I thought that guy was a back burner. Oh, wait, now he's grown into, they kind of bring him kind of to the forefront. So, check it out. It's definitely good. But then the last thing I want to talk about is the story. Now, the story, they sometimes seem to gloss over points here and there. Like in the beginning, when Marco Polo is taking this like epic 3-year journey from Italy to China, and they're just kind of like, year 1, year 2, year 3, they're here. Hey!
It was like 15 minutes. They clearly just wanted to get past it. Like they're
just like, no, we don't want to talk about this right now. And there's a couple times where they're just like, okay, now months have passed. It's just like, oh, all right. Again, it doesn't really detract from the story. It just is an interesting way of doing it, I think. So they're just like, all right, we got to let you know something happened there, but let's go there. But other than that, they really do. Once they get into the meat of the show, it is well thought out. It is well, the lines that they draw are just perfectly and succinct. So I did enjoy it as they went through the story, and I think the story just got better and better as it went on. One of the things a lot of people like to do with Netflix shows is binge watch them. That is kind of the Netflix thing. And the first 3 episodes, I was like, okay, I can watch this episode. I'm done. All right, watch it. But once I got into like episode 4 and 5, I was like, all right, I got to watch another next. Got to watch the next. Got to watch the next. Got to watch the next. Keeping myself up later than I wanted to. Like, oh, I can watch one more. I can watch one more. And so, that's what I want to see from a show. It's very engrossing. Mm. And Brendan's like, I can't comment on that quite yet. Well, and it does come to a very good end. And the season does come to a very good end where you can see the possibilities for the next year, but they wrap it all up in a nice little bow and say, there you go. And that's something I like. I hate cliffhanger endings. Hate them.
Yeah, and I definitely see the show getting better. I thought there was a few points early on where they threw in a few things that weren't necessary, that were clearly just kind of appeal for not story-related reasons, like the stuff with the concubines early on. Like there was no point in showing them until later. Later, it makes sense. Yeah. Later, there's involvement, but early on, it's just like, oh, you're just trying to show like sex appeal. Just
you're trying to show some boobies.
And there was
gotta throw some boobies in there.
And I think there was like some fights early on too that was like, you didn't need that, but whatever. You're trying to show some extra action just to get people interested early on, because they probably weren't sure people would stick around for the rest.
Yeah, but, which is unfortunate, because I mean they didn't need that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad that they put it in there. I'm just saying when you involve it in the story like they start to do later on, it makes it all the much better. So,
yeah.
Now people have called it the Chinese Game of Thrones. No, but very, very good, very entertaining. So, So I really
it definitely shows that you can make a very that Netflix can make very good high budget movies. Hopefully, it's a success and shows other people that maybe they want to make these very elaborate TV shows for streaming services as well, not just go to HBO and things like that.
Yeah, but HBO is about to have its own streaming service, so. But I would you don't have to give it the Chewbacca chainsaw noises, but I would give it about a 4 out of 5 in terms of my TV show, and that's a really good for TV show for me. I don't think I don't know if I've seen many shows except for Game of Thrones that I'd give a 5 to. So you're in the right company there. So let us know what you thought of it, though. Did you like this show? Did you hate the show? Did you binge watch it all in one 10-hour? Wow, you're like, I mean, what if you watched 10 hours in a row? That's crazy. Let me know if you did that. Hit me up, comments down below. Of course, What's My Face on Twitter, Google Plus, and Facebook. Always good ways of getting a hold of us.